Throughout this week, I've gotten to take a look at some key matchups between the Bears and the Cowboys as their road to rivalry continues.
Oklahoma State and Baylor are playing in their 42nd matchup this Saturday in a series that dates back to 1914. This will be the fifth-ranked matchup since the infamous 2013 game, where the rivalry between the Cowboys and the Bears started.
In 2013, an undefeated and fourth-ranked Baylor team came into Boone-Pickens Stadium with aspirations of a BCS national championship on their mind.
But that all changed when Baylor quarterback Bryce Petty fell at the 1-yard line, failing to secure the first points of the game.
Got off to a good start, and Bryce Petty was running for the end zone, and nobody was around him. And like you said, the turf monster jumped up and tripped him, and he didn't score. And it was kind of like, uh-oh.
Oklahoma State ended up winning that 2013 game 49-17, putting that matchup on the map. Since that meeting, Baylor has been in control, winning 6 of the last 9 games. Throughout the past 9 years, there have been many memorable games, most notably the 2015 game, where Baylor flipped the script and defeated a 4th-ranked, undefeated OSU team. Although most games have been very close, Oklahoma State has had 2 blowout wins against Baylor. In 2017, winning 59-16, and in 2020, winning 42-3. The last regular season matchup was in BPS 364 days ago, where the Cowboys outlasted the Bears 24-14.
Now, the most recent matchup between the Cowboys and the Bears was right here at AT&T Stadium, where Oklahoma State was this close from being Big 12 champs.
I was heartbroken, you know what I mean? It was a tough loss. Disappointed that we couldn't get, from the 1-yard line inside the 5, somewhere in there, we couldn't rush it in.
With the departure of Oklahoma and Texas from the conference, we may see the birth of a new rivalry in the Big 12. Expect to see more games with higher stakes.
That leads us to here, McLean Stadium, where Oklahoma State is seeking revenge from that unfortunate Big 12 championship game.
Collegiate athletes will never be the same. NIL, or name, image, and likeness, is shaping the future for this generation's college athletes. On July 1st of 2021, the NCAA's new NIL rules went into effect, and athletes all over started signing deals to profit on their name, image, and likeness. Here at Oklahoma State, athletes have had the option to sign with branding agent companies to help grow their name. One of those companies, Mag Sports, has taken in some of the most pristine Cowboys and elevated them from student athlete to community hero.
People coming up to me and, asking me to sign their things. It's crazy because, I was once, a fan of, guys like that, and seeing the young kids come up to me and, show love and appreciation, man, it makes me feel good. And I love it, man. I love the fans.
With NIL, collegiate athletes can now turn this into this.
Some of the big ways that these athletes have grown their brand and make money off NIL is through events in the community. Since Mags has taken in athletes here at OSU, they have had signing events at places like Coney Island and Buffalo Wild Wings. Through all these events, Mag's main focus is always making these athletes known to the community by more than just their on-field performance.
Athletes have a very, tedious schedule from going to practice to class, to playing games. And, to see the appreciation from the community, I think is the whole world to them.
The biggest thing about these community events is not about the money for these athletes or even growing their brand, but it's about the fans and getting these student athletes out and show them how much they are appreciated not only at OSU, but also in Stillwater.
Showcasing who they are as a person and making sure it's known that within the community that they are more than an athlete and that they're a human.
The era of NIL in college athletics has just started, and over the next couple years, people can expect for these rules to be modified and for athletes to make their name known in many different ways. For the Poke Report, I'm Jace Andrews.
Thanks, Alex and Asa. I'm still trying to recover from the Cowboys game as well, but let's try and move on and look at some of the other Big 12 games from last week. Let's start first with TCU taking on West Virginia in Morgantown. This was a high-scoring game from 2 really good offenses. First quarter, West Virginia on top 7-0 when Max Duggan finds Tay Barber for a 71-yard strike as both offenses were just getting started. We move ahead now, fourth quarter, Mountaineers down 10, and JT Daniels trying to mount a comeback as he tosses it to Reese Smith, and he snags the ball out of the air and holds on as he takes a hit to bring West Virginia within 3. A couple of drives later, it's the Horned Frogs and Savion Williams catching his third touchdown of the year, this one sealing the victory for TCU and keeping their season perfect. We now travel over to Ames, Iowa, where the Cyclones, still looking for their first conference win, are taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. We start in the second quarter with the game tied at 3 and Oklahoma setting up to take the lead with a field goal of their own, but whoop, it's a fake. Michael Turk, the punter, finds the kicker Zach Schmidt for a 2-yard dump pass, and Schmidt finds the end zone to give OU a 10-3 lead. We go into half with the Sooners up 13-6. Third quarter now, and Dylan Gabriel throws his only touchdown of the day to Jaleel Farouk, and Oklahoma up 20-6 now. Oklahoma comes out on top with the final score 27-16, and they improve to 5-3 ahead of their matchup with Baylor. Speaking of Baylor, they were in Lubbock taking on the Red Raiders. The Bears were looking like their normal selves in this game, with the standout freshman Richard Reese putting the ball in the end zone 2 times in the second quarter to give Baylor a commanding 17-3 lead at the half. Late third quarter now, Baylor on top 24-10 and make that 24-17 as Byrne Morton runs it in from 8 yards out to shrink the deficit to 7. But the fourth quarter was all Bears as they score not once, not twice, but 3 times in the fourth to give Baylor the 45-17 victory. Alex, Asa, I will see y'all in just a bit for our weekly pick'em. Moving on to the football powerhouse that is Lawrence, Kansas, Jalen Daniels and the Jayhawks taking on Matt Campbell's Cyclones. Not a lot of offense in this matchup, but both Daniel Hinshaw Jr. and Daniels score rushing touchdowns in the second quarter to give Kansas a 2-touchdown lead. The Cyclones score right before the half with Hunter Deckers finding Easton Dean, as well as converting a 2-point conversion to make it 14-8 going into the half. Skipping ahead now to the fourth quarter, 27 seconds to go. Jace Gilbert, a chance to tie the game with a 37-yard field goal, but it's wide left, and Kansas now improves to 5-0. I think it's clear to say that I'm the better Jace in this matchup, but I digress. Taking a look at the standings in the Big 12, we have Kansas and Kansas State at the top. Has anyone ever seen that before? Not me. Oklahoma State just behind them at 1-0 in the conference and 4-0 overall. Now, this is where we get into some interesting standings. TCU above Baylor. The Horned Frogs are headed to Lawrence this weekend, and Baylor on a bye, followed by Texas Tech and Texas. 3 schools round out the bottom at 0-2. We've got Iowa State, OU, and West Virginia in last place. Cowboys are victorious here in Kansas City on night 1 of the Big 12 tournament as they defeat the Oklahoma Sooners 57-49, and they get their 3rd Bedlam basketball victory of the year. That's the first time the Cowboys have done that since the 1964-1965 season, so some history tonight for the Pokes. Tonight, the Cowboys were led on the defensive side by Tyreek Smith. He totaled 14 rebounds and was a monster presence on the defensive side of the ball. On the Oklahoma side, it was Tanner Groves doing it all for them. He finished with a double-double in his final game in a Sooners jersey. Oklahoma State with the victory will move on to the quarterfinals matchup. They'll take on the Texas Longhorns tomorrow right here at T-Mobile Center. That's scheduled for 6 o'clock tip. We'll be right back with all that tomorrow, but for now, that concludes the coverage of tonight. Jace Andrews here reporting from Kansas City as Oklahoma State once again victorious over Oklahoma in round 1 of the Big 12 tournament. Well, thanks, Alex. Unfortunately, the Oklahoma State Cowboys will not be participating in this year's March Madness, but the same cannot be said for the rest of the Big 12. Looking first at the defending national champions, the Baylor Bears. The Bears look to go back-to-back and be the 6th team ever in NCAA history to do so. Now, the Bears have had some injury struggles as of late, but they seem to be getting healthy at the perfect time. The Bears ranked first in Quadrant 1 victories for the 2nd year in a row and look to be primed for another Final Four run. Their counterparts, the Kansas Jayhawks, are led by Ochai Agbaji. They rank 2nd in the Quadrant 1 victories with 10. Now, the Bears and the Jayhawks split the regular season series going 1-1, and they're both currently ranked as 1 seeds in this year's tournament. Traveling down to Lubbock, the Red Raiders seemed to be on top of the world last year with Mac McClung and Chris Beard, but now this year seemed to be lost all hope. But hope was not lost as they reached to the number 9 rank in all of college basketball. But unfortunately, their problem this year, upsets, losing to Kansas State, TCU, Oklahoma, and OSU. Now in Austin, the Longhorns look to be, for their first time ever, a true threat in the Big 12 after losing Shaka Smart and gaining Chris Beard in the head coaching category. The Longhorns, though, have been struggling this year as they've had some problems against the top 3 teams in the Big 12, going just 1-5 against those teams. Now, my final team I'll mention is the Iowa State Cyclones. The Cyclones were looking very good at the beginning of the season, but since then have just kind of fallen off a cliff. We'll see if the Cyclones can become this year's Cinderella story. Back to you, Alex.
Released 6 different first-round trades that included the Kansas City Chiefs in one of them, and it's interesting. Let's just say that. So let's first start with the trade, because the trade in itself is not exactly the most wild, outlandish thing I've ever seen. It's a Chiefs trade to the Lions, and where they swap first-round picks, Chiefs moving up from 32 to 29. And then in exchange, the Lions get the Chiefs' 3rd-round pick, and the Chiefs get the Lions' 5th-round pick at number 164. First of all, in regards to this trade, I think there's better value out there, and I'll show you better value later on in the show, but it's not bad. It's something that I'm not going to be upset about. It's something that would happen. But here's the thing. What did PFF do in terms of who they took at number 29? Who did they take with the pick, given the Chiefs moved up in the first round, although ever so slightly? Well, they decided that the Chiefs would take Kingsley Suamataia. Yes, Kingsley Suamataia, the guy that I have said you could get at 32 multiple times. Now, I'm not going to sit here and trash Suamataia. I'm not saying he is a bad pick by any stretch of the imagination. I think he is an amazing tackle, and I would love to see him on the Kansas City Chiefs. But don't get the fact that you're trading up for this. And so, I mean, all I can really say is just, what's going on here? I don't know what in the world. To me, this is just a facepalm. If you're going to trade up, okay, go get A.D. Mitchell. Get a wide receiver. Go all in on a wide receiver. Go see if Rome Odunze falls. Go trade up big time. Why in the world are you taking an offensive lineman when you're trading up? It makes no sense to me. Now, I know that this is becoming more of a likelihood the Chiefs will draft a left tackle in the first round rather than a wide receiver. And I'm okay with that. I'm not saying that that is the problem. I'm saying that you trading up for a left tackle is the problem. I think you have to go after a wide receiver if you're going to trade up, like Adonai Mitchell. And here's my opinion, and the last thing I'll say about why this is dumb. I did a PFF mock draft 3 times today. Every single time at 32, all 5 of these guys were available. Obviously, the one on the back end, Pooney, I put him in there. He's probably going to be available in the 2nd round for the Chiefs. Jordan Morgan is the one that I'm taking at 32 if you're taking a tackle. I think he is overall the most well-balanced tackle in the entire, well, okay, not in the entire class, but overall the one that that the Chiefs would be most likely to pick. Kingsley Suamataia is great. I'm not saying I love him. I think he is also great. But in my opinion, those 2, and then it kind of falls off a cliff. I know that Blake Fisher has been one that we have talked about on the Chiefs Report a couple of times, but we've talked about him in the 2nd round. A solid tackle is going to be there at number 32. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. And there is no reason for you to go give up your 3rd round pick in exchange for a 5th round pick just to move up to take a tackle that you could potentially get at number 32. Maybe they do that, though. I mean, again, there are a bunch of rumors swirling that the Chiefs are going to trade up. There's been a couple of reports saying that that's a real possibility. But I just don't understand the report or the fact of the matter of taking a tackle if you do trade up. Looking at the wide receiver prospects for the Chiefs, here's what I could see being available around the later part of the round. Obviously, the top 3 being Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and Marvin Harrison Jr. will probably not be there. But A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, Troy Franklin, Xavier Legette, Keon Coleman. There's a potential that Brian Thomas Jr. falls to the back half of the draft as well. They're all very solid names here, but I think past AD, there is a bit of a drop-off with McConkey, Franklin, Legette, and Coleman. I think that there is more of a severe drop-off from A.D. Mitchell to Ladd McConkey and the latter growth of that wide receiver group than there is from Kingsley Suamataia to Jordan Morgan. That's not a big drop-off to me. I think those 2 guys are, in my mind, neck and neck in terms of how I would like to see them coming drafted and what I would have them ranked on a big board. Drafting left tackle is fine. I'm not saying that is the problem. I think a left tackle is a very important part of this team, and given you have Wanya Morris as your starter and Donovan Smith still remaining as a free agent, I fully am okay with getting a left tackle in the 1st round. Just don't trade up. There's no reason to trade up for one. If you're going to get one, stand still. Hold tight with your draft picks.
and you can go from there. I like the idea of trading up. I just want it to be for a wide receiver.